Hi, you wonderful folks. It's Elizabeth, Dr. G, coming to you today for English 131. And I'm going to be talking about primary text, quotation marks, and narrative essays. And here we go. What are primary texts? This is what we'll be going over. Where can I find them in Hacker, which is a writer's reference? Quotation marks, and where are they in Hacker? And what are narrative essays? So, primary texts are, and this is a quote, immediate first-hand accounts of a topic from people who had a direct connection with it. And there's the source, and I'm going to upload this PowerPoint so that you can see it and see this video. Examples of primary texts are laws and other original documents, newspaper reports by, and this is important, by reporters who witnessed the events, so they are talking about their personal experience, or when they're quoting people who were at the events. Speeches, diaries, letters, interviews, what people said or wrote, original research, but this is not secondary research which analyzes data. It is the data, survey data, census information, photographs, video, audio, etc. So where is this information in Hacker? We call this Hacker because she's the first author, and she was originally the only author until she passed away and Nancy Summers took over. So you can find it in A on page 104, in R, page 126, and you can see that when you open this, it has, well, it's blurred. It has the sections under tabs. And when you want to look at it versus secondary sources, you can find it at R115. So, evidence used in humanities classes like English classes would include passages of lines in a poem, story, narrative essay, etc., passages from a musical composition, an image of a work of art, and critical essays that analyze original works. And this last example is a secondary source. The others are primary sources. So, why quote from poetry, stories, novels, memoir, and narrative fiction? It's a quote from C.S. Lewis. Literature adds to reality. It does not simply describe it. So the primary text we'll be using in our class, and I can't, of course, the book isn't in my hand. Oh, it fell off my lap. Come from the pocket full of essays. So when do you use quotation marks? You use them when you're quoting something. Say what? Use them when you're quoting materials from primary sources, and we just learned primary sources are poetry, stories, narrative writing, novels, memoirs, etc. You also use them when you're quoting people, and when you're quoting and it's not a quote within a quote, which we're not going to today. Always use quotation marks that are the double quotation marks. Don't use the hyphen or single quotation mark. A lot of people do that, and that's not correct. So in our class, we'll primarily be using quotation marks that are the double quotation marks, and we'll primarily be doing that to quote from other material that are primary sources. So you'll be quoting from the essays that we're reading in A Pocket Full of Essays. How do you do that? When you do that, so here's an example. In the essay Finishing School, Maya Angelou begins, well, there's supposed to be quotation marks right there. Quotation, quote, recently, and then it would be quotation marks. Recently, a white woman from Texas who would quickly describe herself as a liberal asked me about my hometown. End quote. And I don't know why the quotation marks didn't show up there. Wait, what? Why is finishing school in quotation marks? And like I said, I'm going to upload the PowerPoint as well as the video. Titles of poems, stories, narrative writing, chapters, subdivisions of books, episodes of shows and TV shows, and other short works go in quotation marks. So finishing school goes in a quotation mark because it's a title of a short thing. Where is this in Hacker? It begins under P5, and there's a whole section of it from 498 to 504. Before turning in your paper that's due tomorrow, read the sections so you're using them correctly. You can also look in the index on pages, that shouldn't be 334, it should be 534 to 500 and, oh no, wait, I'm sorry, it is index 34 and 30 to 36. If you have other questions about quotation marks. Narrative writing, a quote about it is narrative writing is essentially a story, is essentially story writing. A narrative can be fiction or nonfiction, and it can also occupy the space between these as a semi-autobiographical story, historical fiction, or a dramatized retelling of actual events. So what is a narrative essay? Narrative essays share a lot of similarities with personal essays, but I'm sorry, I can't get my water open. But whereas the former can be fictional or non-fictional, the latter are strictly non-fictional, so they're strictly true. The goal of a narrative essay is to use established storytelling techniques like theme, conflict, and irony in a unique, personal way. So what are some narrative essays that you all have seen? Finishing School by Maya Angelou, Casa, A Partial Remembrance of a Puerto Rican Childhood by Judith Ortiz Coffer, The Inheritance of Tools by Scott Russell Sanders, and Once More to the Lake by E.B. White. Wait, how do you know I've read those essays? Because you read them for class. Thanks. Hope this was informative and helped with your paper. Thanks. Bye.